I keep telling people, right, I didn't have my own telephoto lens until 3 months ago. You can rent a lens if you need to, and I've always done that. A guy from Bombay to go to Delhi or Gurgaon, difficult. I was like a fish out of water. No offense to that part of the country. The team, right? And the team is, of course, we are a summation of the team. Honestly, without our team, we are absolutely nothing. We are just the spokespersons. Like, we'll come and do a podcast like this. We'll talk with a lot of, fancy jargons, but eventually it's the people on the ground.
So, Akshay, what gets you to wake up every morning and be there in full action?
My alarm. Okay. I snooze 6 times before I actually wake up. And that's a big complaint also my wife has.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Level Up with Love. So दोस्तों, before we begin today's episode, I thought थोड़ा आप लोग से जान ले कि यार अगले episodes में क्या चाहिए आपको. I started building the new episodes. थोड़ा सा मैं मेरे set वेट को look change करने के planning में हूँ, but guest कैसे चाहिए? What are the kind of inputs and what are the kind of people you want to hear? I'm really looking forward to knowing from you, so feel free to hit me up on Instagram. Send me a DM and let me know what are the kind of people you want to see in the upcoming episodes. So दोस्तों, coming to today's episode. The guest coming in is a genius. Yes, for all you people who are probably photographers, filmmakers, content creators, I'm sure today we have a new audience joining us who are from the digital industry. I'm sure today we have a few new people coming in who might be from the digital industry. Because yes, our guest today is a marketing genius. He runs multiple offices in our country and he's created a sought after brand with a team of 1,000 plus creative minds, and they service 300 plus brands all across the world. He runs one of the largest digital marketing agencies in our country. What's the name? Any guesses? Yes, his company ka naam sun ke na, it just wakes you up. I do not know what do you feel, but whenever I hear his company's name, it's like totally you jump apart. So yes, I'm talking about none other than Akshay Gurnani from Schbang. So, are we excited to meet Akshay? I'm super duper excited. Let's take you in and let's meet Akshay and get started. Abhi, what gets you to wake up every day from your bed?
My joint pain.
He's really gone through such hassles every day.
Oh my god, I had tears in my eyes. First paycheck I got was 40,000 at the age of 14 and a half.
साला शादी वाला फोटोग्राफर लग रहा हूँ मैं तुम्हें. I said यार I want to become a director. साला मेरा कोई पैसा तो नहीं काटेगा.
How does one become a photographer if he's using compositing?
How many times did love come in it?
Oh, love is the way of our life, man.
Listen, when did you pick up your camera for the first time?
At the age of 11.
An accident.
Can you imagine shooting Amitabh Bachchan for the first time and you get fired by him?
Oh my god, I think.
Just make this content viral.
It's a very tricky situation.
That journey began, I would say, magically.
So I said, 12 दिन के अगर जो 8,000 रुपया मिल रहा है तो ठीक है. And he was like, no, I'm paying you per day 8,000 rupees. You have to innovate and shock yourselves every 3 years.
That's a cheers moment. So, hi Akshay, welcome to my podcast.
Thanks, Love. Thanks for having me. It's good to be on your podcast. I know we've spoken about it a few times and finally here. And God willing has got me here today. So yes, thank you.
I know with a lot of cancellations, we finally done this today.
Yeah, I think the rain gods were playing spoil sport a couple of times also. But thanks for having me. Yeah.
My pleasure. So Akshay, I think you're that diverse personality who has so much to talk about. So I think let's get started. You've been you're a creative genius in this creative industry. So firstly, let's start with your journey. What was your education and how did you start and when did you realize that, you want to be in this industry?
Sure. Thanks. So yeah, I mean, I'm a thoroughbred Bombay boy, like born and brought up in Bombay itself. I've done my schooling in Bombay itself and went to college as well, to HR college actually in Churchgate. 2 years undergraduation there, 3 years I did my Bachelor of Management Studies, BMS as we call it. And I think typically in BMS we learn that you're a jack of all trades. So you learn everything. You do creative, you do finance, you do HR, you do every different kind of field, and it gives you a whole rounded experience of all the different kind of facets of a business, right? You also learn a lot of entrepreneurship, which is a great part of the journey. But I think, growing up, I was always inclined towards creativity. Like I always picked up my father's point and shoot camera back in the day. Yeah, I always, had an eye for creativity. I loved looking at advertising. I loved looking at ads. I loved looking at what brands are actually doing in the industry. But I think when I was in my course, when I was doing my BMS, I was that one inquisitive kid who always wanted to learn something different, something new. In fact, I was the only kid in my class who did both finance and marketing. I specialized in both finance and marketing, and I even gave my board exams in finance. In fact,
Okay.
So not many people actually know that I've done finance as a major, and I scored my lowest marks in finance, incidentally. And but when I was 20, 21 back then, I was with this mindset that if I don't learn right now, I will never learn, right? And I felt like it's a good time to actually imbibe as much as I can, then pick up on what I'm good with, and then sort of take that forward. In fact, fresh out of college, I even took up a job as a financial analyst. So my first job actually was a financial analyst.
Oh wow! So for all I've always known you that you're that photographer and you're somebody who loves the camera and who's the man behind Schbang, but there's more to financial side to you.
In fact, So my first 6 months were actually finance. I was working as a financial analyst. Spent nights in office because analysts typically don't have a life outside of work. I was dealing with a lot of clients based out of the Middle East or wherever else. So I never went back home. Was staying back in office.
But I'm sure that's your life even today. So how has it changed?
We'll get to that. I think it's become a lot more better. But I think So I think very early on I realized that finance is not for me. Like I think I got burnt out in 6 months, and I said, you know what, I'm done with finance. Like I've learned whatever I had to. I could read balance sheets, I could do P&Ls, but that's what my journey with finance is going to be. And almost overnight I switched over to marketing. So I joined another agency back in the day. It was a very small team of about 15, 20 people. They were one of the first few agencies in the country who were doing social media marketing. We called it SMM back in the day. Social media was the only thing which we had. It was like only, Facebook pe content banane, Twitter pe do teen post karne, but that was the job, But almost overnight I switched to marketing, and because I also knew the other founders in that previous agency, it was just like a comfort saying, okay, fine, I know these guys, maybe we can build this out together. And I joined them at a very young age. But I think this is back in 2011. Where the social media industry was still picking up. Suddenly a big boom happened in India, and suddenly brands wanted to start spending money online, and that's where the entire digital industry started actually picking up and growing quite a lot. So 11 and 12, I was here in Bombay. I had a team of about 40 people in Bombay. I was just 22, 23 that time. So I grew with the company. I grew with the industry. And, typically at 23, you're like, take a MBA karte, because that's the normal progression of life. Saying, okay, let's go and get an MBA abroad, do my GMAT and all that kind of stuff. But at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I don't want to study again. I'm happy earning money right now. I have financial independence. I can live my own life the way I want to live. And so I actually got the opportunity to move to Delhi to set up the entire Delhi operations for the agency I was working with. And again, I was just 23 that time. And I said, I'll give myself 2 years. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it's a good learning for me. I've picked up on some life skills, and I'll move on with life and do something of my own. I spent about 18 months in Gurgaon, set up the entire office over there. Had again 70 people over there, did a good amount of billing, and I was just 24 at that time. I'm thinking, okay, now I was sort of done with Gurgaon. Like, a guy from Bombay to go to Delhi or Gurgaon, difficult. I was like a fish out of water. No offense to that part of the country, but I love that part of the country, but I was like a fish out of water. I was like, to manage my life, to manage my clients, to manage my team. It was getting too much for me. So I said, okay, fine, I'm going to come back to Bombay. So 2014, November, December, I came back to Bombay, and at that time, my other two partners moved out of the other agency. Then three of us sort of came together and started Schbang.
Wow. So Schbang started
in Jan 2015.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I spent 4 years doing, learning the tricks of the trade, and then Jan 2015 when we started Schbang. So it's been about 8.5 years now, and I've been in the marketing industry ever since. I think it's been a good call that I've stuck on in the marketing space. I think India has grown drastically in the digital space. Brands have adopted the platforms very well, and it's a growing space for sure. So I think we've touchwood been in the right place at the right time. Been able to really scale up the team. Today we are about 1,200 people across India, Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi. We're also in London and very soon in Amsterdam also.
Wow.
Doing everything from social media content, creative strategy, influencer marketing, video production, photography, a lot of tech, media, consumer inciting, branding, the whole shebang as we call it.
But like when you said your first bit was the 40-member team in Bombay, 40 to 1,200. So tell me a little more. I mean, how did you scale up? Because we always feel digital is more like a very boutique format, and hearing this number of 1,200 people in a digital space is something. I know we've heard it because of Schbang, but how did that happen?
Yeah, I think it's been a gradual journey, right? Like it's not like overnight I've woken up with 1,200 people. It's been a gradual journey. So I think as individuals we've eased ourselves into these scenarios. Of course, we don't look at the numbers saying, okay, we have so many people. It's about saying, okay, can I do good work? Can I get good clients? Can I get good billing? Because if all of those things sort of work in place, the teams generally, of course, build on from there itself, right? So I think we've sort of eased ourselves into from 40 to 100 to 200 to 500. And sometimes we look back and say, okay, I can't even believe the 1,000 people now, right? Like, where do these guys come from? I don't see them because still people are working from home, hybrid, whatever. So I'm like, where are all these people? Like, I don't see them anyway. But I think it's been a gradual progression. I think if you're true to your end goal, if you're true to your purpose, it just works in that form, and you don't lose sight of what the end goal is. And I think that's very important to keep in mind, that don't chase the money, don't chase the valuations. Again, as an agency, we're completely bootstrapped. We've not raised external funding, so it's all funded by ourselves. I think that's the kind of discipline we try to keep from day one, that if we are disciplined with what we are doing and what we're doing best at, everything else will sort of fall in place. And then slowly the team will just keep growing over the past 3, 4, 5 years, and it's been a good journey. I think, again, propelled by COVID. I think COVID has really given us a spike. Back before COVID, we were about 350 people. In the past 3 years, we've become 1,200. So it's because of also how the industry around us has evolved. It's also because of how clients have embraced digital a lot more, is why we've been able to grow and scale up. Of course, a lot of hard work and persuasion and long nights and all that kind of stuff go into it. But I think we're young and we have the fire in the belly. So that's what we're trying to do right now. Yeah.
So I just love the statement that you said, don't chase the money and stick to your end goal. So what has been this end goal that you always planned, which you've been...
Yeah, so I think when we started Schbang, the idea was we want to be one of the only Indian homegrown agencies who can take India to the world, and that's always been our purpose. There are a lot of international agencies from Japan, Europe, US, who all come to India and set up shop and then acquire other agencies, right? I think our vision has always been that can we be the first homegrown Indian company to go across the world and do good work across different countries, and there is no one currently doing that. So that was the end goal that we've always been chasing from day one. So that of course comes by saying, can you be disciplined with the work you're doing in the country? Can you scale up the teams in India? And then of course then you can find opportunities outside India to see where else you can expand to. So we never chase the money saying, okay, fine, we've got to get like a 500 crore valuation, get a good earn-out buyout, and then bounce and make money. That was never the plan, actually. It's always been, okay, let's be disciplined to what we want to achieve. Let's be that first homegrown agency and work towards being that. So it's okay if it's slow because we're funding it through our own money. But if you're disciplined, if you have that vision, I think we are moving in that direction right now, yeah.
So how do you really, hold on to everybody? Today 1,200 people in your team.
Yeah.
How do they imbibe by the same vision? How do they imbibe by the same value? Because today at least in our country, people keep jumping for numbers. So the vision that three of you guys have, how is it moved into your team members?
I think it comes from being transparent. Honestly, like if you come to our office also at Kamala Mills in Lower Parel, we have no cabins. There's not a single cabin in Schbang. So which means that everyone is accessible to everybody. I think what people in the company actually want is access to information. They want to feel valued. They want to feel like they're doing a good job. They want to be appreciated. And if you're giving them that, they will stay back. Not saying that it's easy to keep people back. Nowadays, it's very difficult to keep people back. And then again, the industry's become so price sensitive.
Correct.
Someone gets 5,000 rupees more here, they're happy to jump. And I see that more with the youngsters, right? When they come in, they are of course not looking at you from a long-term perspective. They say, okay, fine, I'm going to be here for the next 1-2 years, get a good name on my resume, maybe win a couple of awards, and then I move on to something else, or maybe go and do an education, go and do an MBA. Suddenly, Canada, London have become the hotspots for education. So, in many cases, we are actually competing with MBA more than other agencies. We're competing with the MBA. So if we can actually give our employees, our teams, a good learning on the job, they will appreciate that. So we have a lot of systems in place within the company itself. We have something called the Schbang Academy. People can actually learn digital marketing with the academy to keep upscaling themselves, because it becomes like an on-ground, on-the-job MBA for them. We allow people to also, switch between different fields within Schbang as well, because we have different, verticals. People can experience a bit of SEO, a bit of technology, a bit of media, a bit of content creator. So even they feel like they're learning something different, keeps them motivated as well, as compared to most agencies who will only specialize just in one thing, right? So we said, okay, fine, we'll give people this entire ecosystem of learning. So come do what you want, learn along the job. Of course, specialize in 1-2 things, because that will be your future. But come and learn along the job, right? So again, the culture has been one big thing that people talk about, saying, I love the Schbang culture for it being an open, transparent, creative space. So I think that's something we focus on, saying, culture is a sacred, it's like a make or break, right? The moment the culture breaks in the company, people start leaving, clients start leaving, business starts going. So we've been very fixated on how we maintain culture. And we have like a monthly town hall, for example, wherein every employee is sort of addressed, in a town hall system, where they are given, transparent information about the company, what hurdles we're facing, what are the issues we're facing currently, what are the good things, what are the bad things. We celebrate people over there as well. So I think people have enough information. They know exactly where the company is moving towards. And if they buy into our vision, they stick on. So I think what best we can do is, of course, we cannot talk to every individual person every single day. It's not possible. But what we can actually do is put out our vision, put out what we want to achieve. And if you buy into our vision, we are here for the long run. Come be a part of our journey as well.
All right. So can we talk a little about your partners? I mean, your co-founders. Often people say that a lot of partnerships, people have very sour things to say, or it doesn't go a long way. But how the three of you guys have got together, and how's this ensemble, and how do you guys divide your responsibilities?
So, the good thing is each of us come with varied expertise, and I think that's why we actually came together, saying let's do something together. Because so my other partner Harshal, he basically comes with the larger vision setting. He comes with the larger business development mandates. He's able to build culture, build expertise, within the company as well. He's able to put down the long-term vision for the company, and sort of really create the pathway for the team to sort of move towards. My partner Sohail, he's an out-and-out tech guy, so tech with UI UX, so he comes with a strong backing of that. So he handles the entire app development, web development, UI UX at the business. I come with a good understanding of building teams, creative, a bit of culture building as well. So we've sort of in our way found our own niches. Of course, sometimes we do step on each other's toes when it comes to joint projects or wherever else. But I think we found our footing in where we want to sort of build our expertise as well, and we've kept it that way. Of course, we will have our own catch-ups every now and then to see where each of the different verticals are moving towards. But because now our processes are very much in place, exactly our systems are in place, our tracking is in place, we exactly know what direction are we moving towards, which month should we focus on, what service better. So that's kind of already put in place now. I think because we come with diverse expertise, we sort of work a lot more symbiotically that way then, yeah.
So but just going back to 8.5 years back when you met your two other co-founders,
Yeah.
Let's look at today a lot of other young people who are at that phase, who want to start off, who want to get into the digital space. What are the tips you'd like to give them, saying how do they decide whether today the two of us, assume you and I are at that 24 and we want to get started together. Has it to be complementing natures? Has it to be complementing responsibilities, or what do you think it is? To identify is it really the right fit?
Yeah. I think always find someone who can add on to what you currently have or know something different from what you do, because I've seen many companies fail because everyone knows the same thing. And then suddenly everyone's stepping on each other's toes. It's becoming too many cooks spoil the broth kind of a scenario. And then everyone's feeling stifled, saying, oh, why are you stepping into my jurisdiction? Why are you coming into my domains? Give me space. So I've seen if you can find people who are adding something beyond what you can do, it'll be the best scenario for you to actually build, because then you both can harness both your expertise and then becomes 2x the sort of growth from there. I think if the wavelengths have to match, right, you need to have the same kind of a vision. If in the long run, for example, we had different visions, we had different objectives for our own life, we wouldn't be in the same place at the same time. So I think if you can find someone with the right kind of vision with you, as well as who can add on complementary skill sets, to supplement what you can probably do, I think that's the right kind of partner to find. Yeah.
But looking at today, where Schbang's story is one of the most successful stories in our country, what do you owe it to? So do you think it's the two other co-founders who are coming with you, or what are the major things you owe it to?
I think I owe it to the team, right? And then the team is, of course, we are a summation of the team. Honestly, without our team, we are absolutely nothing. We are just the spokespersons. Like, we'll come and do a podcast like this, we'll talk a lot of, fancy jargons, but eventually it's the people on the ground who are putting their head down and getting things done, right? Of course, we as the founders are setting the base, we're setting the benchmarks, we're setting the culture, but it's for then the teams to actually take it forward. So I think we've been very fortunate to now get like a lot of external, seniors joining our company from other brands, other agencies actually coming saying we want to come and join Schbang's vision and be a part of the vision. I think we've been very fortunate that people are now outside of our own realms of Schbangers. People from outside saying, can we come and join your company, because we want to grow and be like another Schbanger as well. So I think we've been fortunate to have the right kind of team members who are able to take this vision forward. Of course, a lot of the attribution goes to clients that they are also wanting to work with us from a long-term standpoint. I think that's very important to have partnerships being built out from a long-term, because eventually we need to pay salaries on a monthly basis. So if you can have enough retainers on your roster, you're able to pay out salaries also. So I think clients have been very kind to us in the sense that, okay, they came to us just for maybe social media. Now they're doing influencer marketing, then they're giving us a video project, then they're giving us something else. So I think that's built on with time. We're of course able to add more value to the clients, but also drive more financial values from them also in the long run. So I think attribution is a lot to the clients and to the teams we built out. Yeah.
Okay. In the last 8.5 years, do you think you guys have come to a position where you felt that, okay, are we going to be able to meet? Because the minute the infrastructure goes so huge, the challenges of the salary date also comes in, especially when you're not funded. So do you guys yet have, I know you did say that COVID did give you guys a spike, but usually for a lot of people, COVID was a setback. And so have you had that any time pre-COVID or during COVID, that scenario?
I think it's happened more in the past few months actually, wherein, clients' monies have dried up. So while, of course, they spent a lot in the past 2 years, suddenly we've seen certain clients not being able to pay on time. In fact, I can be transparent and say, like in Jan, Feb, March, we delayed salaries, unfortunately, because collections didn't come in on time. And for the very first time, we had to actually break into our FDs, for example. Of course, the teams don't understand that, and I don't expect them to understand that. But there are challenges we face because clients sometimes do not pay you on time. And of course, we sign contracts saying, 60 days credit period, but then sometimes clients pay after 120, 150, 180 days as well, right? Now, you're also spending big media monies with them. So I've got to pay like a Meta or a Google after 30 days, but I'm getting the money from the client after 3 and 4 months. So somewhere it's affecting my working capital flow as well in that sense, wherein the cash flow gets blocked completely. Because if I stop paying a Meta or a Facebook or a Google, all my clients are going to suffer, because suddenly my media will completely come to a pause, right? So I cannot affect those relationships as well, because it'll have a trickle down effect on a lot of other aspects as well, right?
I understand.
So we've had faced in the past few months certain issues on cash flow specifically, but it's not like it's an unhealthy situation. It's like a part of the normal business anyway. I think we all go through these cycles where sometimes money comes in but takes its own time. So I think we were in this phase in the first quarter and the last quarter of the last year as well. But I think it's eased out now. It's become a lot more better. But I think these challenges are part of every business, and it's how you can add in processes and checks and measures to ensure these scenarios do not occur is what's very important. And I think that's something we've got to keep learning from.
So what kind of changes should be done for a situation like this? I mean, what measures have you all taken?
So if we were doing quarter-wise collection targets. Now we're doing monthly collection targets, so we know exactly on a month-on-month basis exactly how much we're collecting. We've actually put a lot of the responsibility on our senior vice presidents to also start chasing clients for money, because they're the ones who are also honing the relationship with the clients. So they're the ones to also go and ask the client for the money, saying that, no, if we don't get paid on time, we're going to have to pause work, unfortunately. So I think we've put certain checks and measures in place wherein every couple of weeks they are getting an outstanding sheet from our finance team saying, you know what, so and so brand owes us so much, so and so money, so please raise it to your client in time, so that they also have enough time to organize for the funds, for example. And again, we have monthly catch-ups on the overall company's numbers and figures and outstanding, and then we divide and rule, say, okay, fine, you go after these 5, I go after these 3, you go after these 10, and then we, of course, pick up the phone on clients and try recovering that kind of money. But I think it's more about putting the process in place.
It's a system.
Once it's in place, then it becomes autopilot. But putting that in place took us some time. And also how you manage your cash flows, right? Where you're spending, how you're expanding. Because sometimes, like for example, we expanded to London last year. That of course was a heavy investment from our end as well, because salaries there are much more expensive. You're paying out a lot more money as well. So we knew we need to have enough money in the bank to expand into one more country. But we're acquiring one more company right now in Amsterdam. So we need to have that cash flow in place to ensure that once that is even paid out, we have enough money to pay salaries as well. So I think it's about being planned. It's having the structure and having the process in place to actually take it forward. So I think once that's in place, then it becomes more easy, but cracking the process becomes very important. Now we also moved everybody onto Zoho. So we have Zoho for Zoho Books, Zoho HR, Zoho Tracking for Academy. So everything's on Zoho onto one platform. So everybody has visibility of where they stand and what they need to achieve also. Yeah.
So talking about your clients, how do you retain brands? Like you said, you had brands and you quite attribute the success to them, but how do you hold? Because usually a client comes in and very Indian mentality at least is, okay, first 3 months, 6 months, the agency will do. And the client does feel that, okay, now the minute I go to a new agency, in the first 6 months, they'll put more effort. So how do you hold them?
Yeah, so clients, right? So client relationships are important to build, and how do we keep clients happy, right? I think, when clients are actually coming to us, what they're looking for saying that how can I get a partner on board who can help me build out my business vision, right? Whatever it may be. So how can we as a partner to them help them achieve whatever their business objectives are? Could be, of course, building a top line, could be gaining more market share, could be acquiring more customer bases, could be building a website. So how we're able to actually keep the clients happy is to keep understanding what their business objectives are and how are they evolving. And if we can keep adding on to what the business needs, they'll never want to leave you. Of course, they also look at how creative the work is, what the outputs are you winning the awards? All of those vanity metrics, of course, come in at some point in time. But I think eventually comes down to saying, if I'm paying the agency an X amount of money per month, what am I getting out of it, right? And if you can help them quantify their impact, it helps to keep them back long enough. In fact, one of our marquee clients, which is also a neighbor here, Pidilite, we've been working with them for the past 5.5 years now, and the only objective given to us for social media was, take forward the creatives that Pidilite has been, Fevicol or Fevikwik has been known for, take them onto social media as well. We do 4 posts a month, but the objective is simple: just make this content viral. Of course, virality is also very abused and used an abused word, because everybody wants virality, but the objective is simple, right? Just do 4 pieces of content, do it damn well, and that's what we need from you. So if you can understand what the client requires and keep feeding into that, they will never want to leave you, because it's even for them to change agencies is a problem. It's a difficult process to go through pitches and all that kind of stuff, right? Onboarding. They don't want to do that. They rather work with one partner, grow with that partner, and do good work with the partner. So I think if you can understand what they require and keep plugging into those gaps, they will never want to leave you.
Do clients yet come to you saying that, we want viral content?
Of course, all the time, every day.
Every
client says, yeah. So again, it's a use and abuse word, right? Like virality, everybody wants virality. Unfortunately, no one has cracked the algorithm or cracked the formula for virality. You never know. Sometimes even the silliest of things viral on Instagram or on Moj and ShareChat and TikTok or wherever else. I think the endeavor is that if you can find the consumer insight, if you can understand what will make the consumer want to share the content, they will share it. Whether it will viral or not is a byproduct. It's a long-term thing which may or may not happen. But if you can find the right kind of insight for the consumer, in some probability, somebody will go and share it on their stories or with their friend group or on their family group, right? And that's what you want, and that becomes a starting point to virality. Yeah.
But do you think there are some tips that, if you are open to sharing, that what are those things that probably work towards? I mean, of course, there's no, you can't call it a mantra, but what are those checkpoints that you keep in mind while trying to create viral content?
Yeah, I think very importantly, understand what kind of content is working on the platform, because again, the platforms keep evolving with time, right? Like suddenly, from long form content for advertising has become short form content. So you have 6 seconders, 15 seconders, 30 seconders as well, right? Instead of statics, video has become the new format of content creation. So if you can understand what kind of content is working on the platform, or understand what features on the platform are getting pushed out the maximum, those kind of content pieces will have a higher chance of virality. For example, we know for a fact that reels today are doing the best. So by default, if my content is not a reel, for it to viral is very, very difficult. I cannot make a carousel post anymore with statics and hope that's going to viral. I rather make a vertical format 30-second reel, because I know the algorithm itself is working to move that forward, right? Same goes with like short.
But today, Reels has been there for so long.
Yeah.
So it's not that Reel is now new.
Yeah.
But yet today also, what is the reason that that's yet working and the other things are not?
I'll tell you why, right? Because it's exactly like how TikTok worked, right? I didn't have to actually go and follow somebody to see the content. It's like an explore feed. It's like an infinite scroll explore feed, which I keep getting served content for basis my interactions or my interest or the pulses that the platform is able to identify about me, right? So Reels today, I barely follow creators. What I follow is a particular genre of content. For example, photography, right? Once I'm on my explore feed, I will keep seeing wildlife photographers' content one after the other, one after. So what is that telling Instagram? It's telling them that I'm interested in this content is relevant to me, so show this person more of this content. So it's no more about saying that I need to go and follow. As long as I can create content that's relevant to a particular subsegment of the audience, by default, the platform itself will serve that content to the audience in that interest segment. So, which is why Reels today do well, because they allow you to explore infinite on the explore feed. So, yeah.
So amazing. I think that's some great insight for a lot of people starting off. But yeah, coming back to more on the viral content. So you said,
yeah. So I think
one is stick to the
formats that are working well. Stick to the time duration that is the sweet spot for each platform as well. Like, I can see YouTube, for example, we know is a long format content platform. Of course, they've introduced shorts because they want to also compete with Instagram Reels in some way or the other. And I think most brands are making Instagram Reels and uploading them onto YouTube Shorts because it's an easy way of doing it. But YouTube still accepts, prefers long form content in a in a wide landscape sort of a format, right? I think very importantly, if you can also understand the consumer thoughts, consumer insighting, if you can use that as an insight into your content, that again goes a long way in doing. So what we typically do is we try to use our Instagram stories to get insights from our customers. We will put out a couple of polls, we'll ask them questions, hear from what they are saying, use those insights to make content with. We also do like a lot of offline content with, offline research with customers. We'll actually go and talk to customers, understand what are their barriers to entry, their challenges, what are their motivations, use those as insights for content, and then typically those kind of pieces of content typically viral more than the others. So I think it's simple.
So you're seeing a lot of research. One-to-one research with people does really help.
Yeah, so say for example, we're working with plumbers for a pipe company. We'll go and talk to plumbers. We need to understand what is a plumber's mindset, what kind of content is he or she consuming, what kind of at what time of the day are they consuming content? Are they usually active in the morning? Are they active in the night? Even the posting time makes a big difference. Right? Say for example, we're talking to mothers. For one of our brands, we talk to mothers, and we know moms are typically free when the baby's sleeping after lunch, or then once the baby sleeps at night, so after 10 p.m. So if you can serve the content to the mom at 10 p.m. at night, the chances of her actually engaging with the content is a lot more than her engaging during the day, because she's so busy with her own life and her own struggles or whatever she's doing. So post it at a time when she's most likely to interact with the content, because that gives a pulse to the platform that in a short period of time, more people are engaging, so this content is more viral than the other content. So that also makes a big difference in the first 30 minutes, right? How many people are actually consuming the content or interacting with the content, that gives a virality pulse to the platform as well.
So a lot of people say that research on your time. So you say that's very important that you need to research for your account or for your brand what works.
Absolutely.
So there's no, there's no fixed time technically for social media. Depends on your audience.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
So
again,
it's not, I mean, a lot of people say evening 6 to 9 is a good time to post. So it's not a thumb rule. It's
depends
depending on your audience.
Depends on your audience, because say for example I'm talking to working professionals, right? For a fact I know that working professionals, their downtime is probably before they start office, maybe like in the morning, say at 9 a.m. to 9:30, 9:45, when they may be on their way to office, and maybe post once they're back, post 7, post 8 o'clock when they're on their way back home, sitting in the train, sitting in the car, sitting in the bus, consuming content, right? So if I post during the day at say like 11, 12, they're not sitting online because they're busy with their own lives, right? So if you can identify who the audiences are, like even for example, if we're talking to college students, right? We know for a fact that from 8 to 2, maybe they're going to be in class. 2 o'clock onwards, once that bell rings and they've left college, they're in their own downtime, they're consuming content online, making reels potentially. So maybe for them it makes sense to actually post 2 p.m. and not during the first hour of the day. So
I think this is lovely, Akshay. Thank you. You've really given a perspective because people usually say that, oh, there's a time that works for Instagram, but I think it's the time that works for your audience. That's
see, if everyone posts at the same time, you can imagine how much content will come on the platform. So you're seeing just like clutter, right? Rather find the sweet spot for your audience and post at that time. You'll see a better engagement. Yeah.
amazing. I think that's a great insight. Any other? So it's the time for your audience. Let's just put this together as nuggets.
So time for the audience. The audience inciting, the consumer insights, and use formats and the right kind of duration for the content as per what the platform is pushing out at that point in time. Yeah, and of course you can seed in the content. So one way of getting virality is you can actually seed in the content with micro influencers, for example. Now, typically, for example, if we have like a good piece of content, we'll get many people to share it. Once the shareability starts, it then snowballs into something bigger. So you can get micro influencers to come and start sharing your content, commenting on the content, resharing, reposting. That of course gives the algorithm some bit of a push. But then for it to viral out completely, it's a function of all these different kind of factors put together. So
there's a lot of areas to pay focus to.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one size fits all. If we knew the answer, all of our content would be viraling, and then we'd be only be seeing Schbang content everywhere. But unfortunately, that never happens. It happens very, very rarely. And if I had like one post I can talk about is for Fevicol, there was this one incident that happened with Ronaldo wherein he moved those two Coke, those cans from his press conference desk, right? And the next day the stock market price of Coke fell by some 2 or 3% or whatever. So what we did is that we just basically recreated the same scene and put two Fevicol ka dabba saying na bottle hategi, na stock price ghategi. Okay, and that came out in a span of a few hours after the incident. That post viraled out. Because suddenly it was in the moment, everybody had seen and heard ke Ronaldo ka ye hua tha online, he did this thoda kaand, basically moved the Coca bottles around, and because it happened so quickly and we were able to put out the post so quickly, it was in the moment marketing ho gaya, all the press covered it. When you go and search for Coca-Cola as well, back 4 months back, the post of Fevicol was coming up. So you can imagine even Google picked it up.
How much you all leveraged on Coke?
Yeah, you can imagine, right? And we didn't even use the word Coke anywhere. We just basically put our two Fevicol ka bottle in that one same press conference ke setting mein. There's no Ronaldo, just a simple Fevicol ka press conference. Put a smart copy over there, and that viraled out because people were able to resonate with that moment, and then it got picked up in press. Google Pay algorithm also pushed it up to number 1. So it viraled in the moment. It viraled on many WhatsApp groups as well. People started sharing. My family group came saying, have you seen Fevicol's post? I like, this is my post only. So the moment it comes back into your own family group, you've done something right. I
think that's a tick mark to your
tick mark. Yeah. That's a feather in the hat kind of a thing. So again, I had no role to play in this post. It's my entire creative team who came up with the idea, sent it to the client approved it, jaldi se, went up fast. Right? I think also you need to have clients buy in on these concepts, because sometimes client will say, okay, I'll get back to you in 1 day, 2 days. Once the moment is gone, it's gone. You can't do anything beyond that, right? So, of course, you need the client's blessings to also be awake at night, approving, post gaya, and then you viral from there, that kind of a thing. Yeah.
So I think that's amazing. So let's just, before we move into your photography journey, let's understand where is Schbang headed. So now, you did tell me in the larger picture, But what do we expect more to see from Schbang?
I think at the ground level now, our creative teams are fairly well set up. I think we are known to be a creative first agency, and that's how we've built our name in the past eight and a half years. But we're fairly strong on technology and media as well. So media is something I'm getting myself into at this point in time also. Buying media on like Meta, Google, doing third parties. And the thing is, clients have become very focused on ROI, right? While I can do good creative, if the ROI is not coming, it's difficult to sustain, right? You got to spend money in the right way to actually deliver ROI to clients. So I've been spending a lot of my time into building out the media department because I think that's one big area that we can see the country growing in, because brands are moving money from mainline to digital. So if we can be a part of that digital media growth as well, it'll be a good way for us to also scale up our company. So while companies are coming to us saying, okay, fine, handle my entire media my creative mandate, we are saying, you know what, we can also handle a media mandate to then further push out this content to drive, ACOS and ROAS and ROI for you through these different media outlets as well. So I'm focusing a lot on the media. We're also building out the tech side. So tech is going to be a big one in terms of marketing automation, CRMs, websites, app development. That's going to be a different focus for us this year, because creative, of course, is still 70% of the entire company revenue, but we want to also allow the other departments now start growing around the creative thing. So yeah,
That's brilliant. So I think I'd want to be a spokesperson for my audience. Now, if somebody who wants to, we all know we are in the digital age. Everybody knows traditional marketing is no longer there, and I've been every day having these newcomer young kids who've studied different things, and you ask any young 21-year-old, I think I would say every second person says I want to be in digital marketing.
yeah.
So for a 21-year-old kid who's finishing college, or probably he's done engineering or he's done arts and all, but he says yaar zamana digital marketing ka hai. So what are those things that a person should identify, that is he fit to be in this industry?
I keep saying this, that when I started off my career almost 10, 11 years ago in the digital marketing industry, I basically had only 4 options, right? I could be a content writer, I could be a servicing person, I could be a coder, or I could be a UI UX designer. Besides this, there was nothing else. Today at Schbang, for example, we have more than 40-45 different streams of specializations.
Amazing.
So right from saying somebody wants to write only long format scripts, to someone saying I only want to write short format content for social posts, to someone saying I only want to edit images, to saying I want to just handle, media on a buying side. There are so many different opportunities today that whatever your interest may be, whatever your specialization might be, whatever your focus might be, you can find something for you in that particular space. So if someone's joining the industry or coming into an agency, I tell them at least spend 2 years in that job. Don't switch too often, because you will not learn enough. You will not understand what is there for you, what do you like, what do you dislike, right? So I think spend 2 years there. Try different things in the company. Join a growing agency who is giving you opportunities to do more than just one particular role. I think once you start finding what makes you excited, what makes you get out of bed every morning, right? Then start specializing in that. But don't forget that you need to also understand everything that's happening around you, because of how diverse digital today has become, right? So focus on a couple of things, but also keep your mind ticking towards the things happening around you. Of course, that comes by talking to more people, by learning, by reading, by watching podcasts like these, by attending many industry sessions, these networking events as well, or maybe even like learning stuff online, because there are many courses today online that offer digital marketing as a part of the curriculum as well. So learn online. So I keep telling people that if you're coming in, you're starting off your journey, find a couple of niches that you think you are most interested in. Build a niche in that, but still understand everything that's happening around it, because of how integrated today's services are in the entire digital marketing industry. Yeah.
So you think it's important for a person to actually know a lot more? I mean, though specializing is important,
Yeah.
but it's important to be really abreast with everything that's happening in the digital
Like for
space.
example, someone who's writing a script, right? That person needs to also understand what kind of content works on social. That person needs to understand if this content is promoted on media, what kind of media formats work the best. That person needs to also understand from a production standpoint what kind of formats are required to be created. So I'm writing a script, but I need to know about how media promotions will help it, how the production angle will come in, how the posting of that on social media will come in. So it's not okay, I just need to know how to write a script. I need to know so much more around me to give my job a lot more richness. And I think people who eventually start growing in the company are ones who can think a lot more broader, while of course focusing on a couple of their own niches. Yeah.
So with this moving to content creation today, like everybody knows, you all are more the creative agency, but content creation plays the major role today. Creating content is I think the baseline of this. So what are those things that a content creator has to keep in mind? If somebody is very clear that I want to be a content creator, what are the tips for a content creator?
I think very importantly, because the content creator ecosystem has become very cluttered, right? It's become very, very cluttered. Today, everybody's a content creator, right? What do you require for content creation? Mobile phone, that's it. And then you make a handle, you have a mobile phone, you are a content creator by definition, right? It's not, okay, I need to have 1 million followers.
Entry barrier is...
Entry barrier is nothing. It's zilch, right? Basically. So, but I think the creators of today are the ones who are finding a niche, again, for themselves. We see a lot of finance creators nowadays. We see a lot of people who are talking about self-help. Of course, you have the biggest, category of creators are your, lifestyle, beauty, fashion, and because that's been one of the first few, genres that came up, that took off about 7-8 years back, right? But the ones of today who are actually growing the fastest are the ones who are doing something more niche, self-help, business, entrepreneurship, finance. They've been able to carve out a niche in an uncluttered market. So I think if you can find a space in an uncluttered market, of course, if you can find a space or a format in a cluttered market as well, you'll still shine, but it's difficult. So I think if you can find something which is what the need of the hour is, and I've seen nowadays a lot of business influencers have actually come in by, because the youth of India today is been bitten by this Shark Tank effect, right? Everybody wants to know about how do I build a company, how do I get my valuation, how do I get my funding. Suddenly you have so many people talking about business and entrepreneurship. They've become big creators as well, right? So I think if you can find something which is the pulse of the industry, the pulse of the nation, automatically you can grow in that space. Finance has become a big one because suddenly the youth of India is maybe earning more money. They're earning their first check. They're not putting money in FDs like how maybe we did back in the day when we started off our earning, right? Now everyone's looking, saying equity market, everyone's looking at FNOs, everyone's looking at the bond market. Crypto market has become a big thing, right? So suddenly finance creators have become a big one because everyone wants to learn about how to manage my money. I think for creators, if you can find a niche which is untapped into and find a format in which you can make the content, it'll be easier for you to actually grow in that space then, yeah.
So Akshay, let's move from Schbang to your own photography. So how did photography happen to you and how do you keep up with it? I mean, doing so much at Schbang, how do you yet get time and go into the woods or go into the wild space?
Yeah. So I think my earliest tryst with photography, I remember, was when I was maybe 16 or 17, when I used to use my father's Sony point and shoot camera. I used to carry that in my pocket everywhere and just go, and I used to enjoy clicking photos. We didn't have mobile phones back then which could take photos, so we had to use that point and shoot typical camera, and I used to enjoy that zoom in, zoom out, and I would try different angles and composition techniques or whatever. But I think when I was 17 or 18, I said, now it's time to buy my own DSLR camera. So I remember I saved up for almost 2.5 years, did odd jobs, did small internships, saved about 35,000 rupees to buy my first Nikon D3000, entry level, 1835 kit lens and all that, 1855 kit lens. And this is when I was again 18, 19 that time, and suddenly I was the only kid in my group who had a camera. Everybody else had the point and shoot, and I had my big DSLR camera. I would go out and do photo walks and walk in the streets of Bombay and do street photography because I enjoyed walking and doing these street walks kind of photography. But I think soon as I started picking up and I learned photography on my own, I self-learned. I think once I had the camera in my hand, I tried different things. I spoke to different photographers. I met with different people. I watched content online, and I'm a self-taught, self-learned kind of photographer. But I think with time, I moved from street photography to wildlife became my newest passion. So I think about 6 years back is when I picked up on wildlife photography. I think it's very similar to street photography because it's unplanned. You got to be extremely patient.
You're waiting for the moment.
You gotta wait for the moment. You can't, you cannot orchestrate saying, "Acha tiger, please come and sit over here." No, you can't do that, right?
You can't create that, yeah.
You can't. You can't create anything, yeah.
I come from a total opposite genre where I want to make things perfect.
Exactly, yeah. So, and I'm not the best at directing people. So I'm good at finding candid moments, finding the right kind of moment, finding the right kind of light, and then shooting the pictures. Then, so I got into wildlife and I enjoyed being in the jungle because I felt like this is my only way to get away from the phone. Like, so when I'm in the jungle, I don't have my mobile phone on me, so I'm like cut off from the world. So wildlife became a passion because it was a great way of getting away from work, and second is also I could take my camera in my hand and go and do something of my own, right? And then a couple of years after that, my friends started having babies, because I was at that age, everyone's having kids, right? So one of my friends said, "Can you come and shoot my baby? Like, can you do a small shoot for me?"
Wow.
So I said, "Chalo, karte." So my wife and I, we went unplanned. We put some small reference deck together. Said, "Okay, fine, we'll take these 20 shots." It came out very well. And again, I'd never learned how to choreograph a baby and orchestrate a baby, and because the baby was 20 days old. Okay, so I was like, I don't know how to even touch the baby because the baby is so fragile and small. How to even touch the baby? So their mother, she set up the baby and everything, and we took some good pictures, and I enjoyed that as well because again I realized that like wildlife and street photography, you cannot orchestrate a child as well. You cannot make a child do what you're saying. They will do what they want. They will run wherever they want. They will have their own mood swings. So my focus for photography for children now has become, so I do natural light and candids only. So I do not do studio photography because I've not learned lighting, unfortunately. So I've actually taken my passion of street photography to wildlife to now baby. And the only way I actually shoot now on the weekends is because it's a commercial thing now, so I get paid to do these shoots. So that's at least thrice a month I'm picking up my camera to do a paid shoot. But otherwise, if I'm traveling, so my wife and I love to travel quite a bit. So we do at least 2-3 trips in the year. So I think by default, we all are travel photographers. So I don't carry my DSLR nowadays, but I take my camera, my phone camera, and shoot on the phone, unfortunately. But I think so travel has become my newest favorite kind of genre as well. But the only way I keep in touch with photography is on the weekends when I get some time to myself.
But with having Schbang at this league, how does Schbang allow you to do this? I mean, how do you manage your time?
So again, I've kept my passions for the weekend. I love teaching as well. So every weekend I'm teaching. I love photography. So it's a weekend gig. So I know for the fact that my first 5 days of the week are all in office. I'm at Schbang. I'm doing my job. I'm an employee of the company, so I'm doing my job as well over there. I am a director. I'm a partner, so I'm doing that job as well. But I've tried to, and I've been very disciplined all my life. Like I know if I've set my heart and mind to doing something, I will ensure that gets done, right? And I task list a lot. Like I make my tasks for the weekend as well. So I have a weekend task list every weekend. Like, and that sometimes annoys my wife because she'll be like, "Why do you have tasks for the weekend?" But I think sometimes I need to just prioritize certain things to keep my passions alive. And
but when is time to relax or time to just zone out? I mean, if you have such a task list for the weekend.
So I don't zone out. I don't actually chill. I have no chill, basically, if you ask me. I'm always on the move. I'm always doing something. For me, actually, I derive happiness from teaching. I derive happiness from photography. So for me...
I can see the love there.
Yes,
exactly.
The camera. Yeah. So in fact, I had back in 2017, I'd won this Canon Photo Marathon, which is actually India's largest live photography competition when I went to Japan and all that stuff. So that gave me a push saying, okay, fine, let's take photography a bit more seriously. Now, if I'm good, I can do something more for myself. So I got the tattoo right after that saying, okay, it's a testament that I should push myself every day to also follow my passion for photography. But I have no chill. Like I don't relax. You won't find me sleeping till like 11, 12 o'clock. I don't do that. I prefer being on the move, getting out, doing something new, learning something different. So I derive energy from teaching, being with students. I derive energy from photography. So I like to do that on the weekends, and that keeps my mind also, fresh.
So for all the listeners and viewers who are watching us right now, you mean if they are doing a Monday to Friday job, they can yet be successfully continuing to be a photographer on the weekend? You think it's a great combination?
I think it's just about how you prioritize your time, right? If you can plan your day in a way wherein you're putting in certain hours, or if you want to wake up slightly earlier in the morning, I sometimes learn at night. I'm a late night person, like I'm a nocturnal animal, right? So my prime time is from 12 to 2 at night. So
I think that's my time.
That's when my mind is working the most, and that's when I'm most active, right? So if I'm learning photography also, I learn only at night. If I'm learning something new, I learn at night. So while I'm finishing my 10 hours of 11 hours of work in the day, finishing my Schbang task, then I spend 1-2 hours at night just upskilling myself, learning something different. And then on the weekends, I'm practicing that. I'm either going out, maybe playing a sport, maybe going with my camera, meeting people, networking, and then learning something different. So that's how I keep myself motivated, to be very true.
But how do you put that pause at that 10 hours or 11 hours for Schbang?
That's
I
hard.
mean,
That's very hard,
So
actually.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, when you know that I need to disconnect now from Schbang and move to my passion, how does that
That's
happen?
I'm still trying to find that answer. It's not very black or white because some days are extremely hectic, right? And again, when you have like 250 clients, you never know. In one day you might think today seems like a good day, then suddenly something in the evening will come up and you'll be like unexpectedly out of the blue, right, saying kuch to bhasad ho gaya, like something has happened and you're like, oh shit, now I've got to like go back home and then sort out this particular issue, right? So you can't preempt these scenarios, unfortunately, and because as a founder the buck stops at you in some form or the other, so you can't even avoid the scenarios because okay, if you let it go,
You can't put up your hands.
yeah, you can't be like, no, guys, you figured it out. Of
you
course,
can't say 7 o'clock
sometimes
and
you'll be
done.
like, no, what, guys, figure it out. But then if they can't figure it out, it comes back onto you, right? So, so I think it's about finding just the peace in the smaller moments, and I try to find energy in the smaller moments instead of saying, okay, fine, 7 p.m. I cut off. I'll say, 7:30, I'll probably go to the gym for 1 hour, but I'll come back home and resume work after that. So, but that 1 hour of me time, downtime allows me to just rejuvenate. So I think I found a way to find peace in the smaller moments rather than expecting myself to have 12 hours of no issues. I know that wo issue hoga, but if I can in those 12 hours find maybe 2 or 3 times where I can just find time for myself to learn something, to listen to a podcast, maybe like watch something on my phone, to give myself a peace of mind, that's what I do then, yeah.
So Akshay, what gets you to wake up every morning and be there in full action?
My alarm. No, I'm joking. I snooze 6 times before I actually wake up, and that's a big complaint also my wife has for me. But I think it is this larger sort of this larger vision, right, that we have for ourselves, that you can't achieve anything by staying in bed, right? No one has ever achieved anything by sleeping, right? So you need to actually be out, get out of the comfort zone, and actually go and achieve things. So I think for me, every morning it's about, I get the energy from my teams because I see the kind of energy my teams come with, right? And I think that's sometimes very infectious. Like you feel the energy in, like if you come to Schbang, for example, you can hear how loud it is. You can hear the energy. You can feel the energy in the air, right? So I think that pushes me every morning, saying I've got to show up every day for my team as well, because when they see me, when I see them, it's that energy which we share with each other, and I think that's what's important to do. And of course, we're working towards a long-term vision for the company, and that's what sort of pushes me every single day. Of course, you feel tired sometimes. You feel demotivated. Maybe things don't go a particular way, but I keep seeing it like, every day is like a new day, it's a new challenge, a new opportunity. If you don't embrace that challenge, you're probably missing out on something. And that's how I've always lived my life. Like, I've always picked up on the smallest of small opportunities that have come my way. Like, for example, when I said, don't do an MBA, go and set up the Delhi office, I don't have an MBA even today. But if I hadn't gone and done that job, I wouldn't have Schbang today, right? So it's just finding those small opportunities and then embracing them is how I like to believe. Yeah.
So what inspires you? What are your sources of inspiration?
I think my source of inspiration, as I was mentioning, is that I get inspired by creating. I get inspired by creating. Like I love creating for myself. Like for example, I love writing content because eventually, as you grow up into becoming a founder and all that kind of stuff, you tend to lose the more ground level points of actually creating content, because then you become more like a manager than a creator, right? But
Right.
I derive inspiration from creating, which is why I love posting my content on Instagram. I love creating content on LinkedIn, for example. I love doing podcasts like these because I'm creating something new. So what inspires me is inspiring people. What inspires me is sharing. I love sharing, whatever I can with the world, because I feel like that's the only way I can give back. The one thing I can give back is knowledge. And if I've acquired knowledge in the past 10 years, the only thing I can do is give it back to somebody else who can benefit from it. So I get inspired by doing some of these things. And yeah, I think it's these small moments that actually make me feel very happy. Yeah.
So what all are you teaching, and can you throw some light on your
So I
teaching
teach a
journey?
lot of digital marketing, again, because I come from a background of actually learning and doing. So I'm able to understand what brands require, understand the core reality of brands. So I'm able to inspire people from what I know and what I've learned with during my journey. So I teach strategy, I teach campaign planning, I teach a lot of content writing as well. So I love teaching marketing. It comes naturally to me. I can, without a presentation, I can talk for 3 hours on marketing as well. So and because I have so many anecdotes to share, so many different examples to share, I think that's what the difference is as compared to anybody else who teaches digital marketing, right? Because I think eventually the students want to learn what the ground realities are, because what you learn in the books is typically never what you actually see on the real on ground. So I love sharing real life examples of actual brands, of actual work as well, and that comes out in my teaching. And I love sharing digital marketing tips and all that stuff. Yeah, I even did teach photography to some NGO students for a couple of years. Again, I'm a self-taught and self-learned, so whatever I could teach them, I taught them. But they were very, happy to actually have a camera in their hand and go out and shoot. We gave all these kids a point-and-shoot camera, so they went back to their villages, to their bastis, to their slums. They shot. We had an entire, exhibition of their images. We had winners, but I taught them photography right from what is aperture, what is composition, what is shutter speed, and that was a great learning for me as well, because I got to learn from the kids. I got to learn from these 10-year-old kids who had so many questions for me. So I love imparting. I love teaching whatever I know a little bit of. Yeah.
So, what do you think of formal education? I mean, today, like you said, back in the day, you didn't learn photography, you started off. But today, what's your take on formal education?
So I think formal education is very important. I think it sets the foundation very strong for somebody to build on from there. But I think it comes down to saying, how inquisitive are you to actually build from there? Because sometimes I see people assume that, okay, मैंने MBA कर लिया, and that's the end of it, right? I'll get a good job. But I think it's what you can make from the networking you can get from the MBA, or what you can actually make from the job you've actually achieved or got from after getting the MBA, right? So I think very importantly, if you can use the education as a bedrock to build from, then that's the right way to actually see the education, and not like saying कि हाँ tick mark हो गया, अभी I have the education, अभी jobs आएंगे. No, I think you can be a bit more inquisitive, go out of your comfort zone, find more opportunities, and then build from there is where I see the education actually helping. And I think also with photography, right? Once you actually understand the technical aspects of it, once you actually get into a studio and learn the technicals, then it's actually about going out and getting your hands dirty, right? And you have to be on the field. You have to go and find an assignment for yourself. You have to go and be in an uncomfortable scenario to actually learn from there. Like for example, like when I was doing the baby shoots, right? The first 3-4 shoots were so difficult because I was like, how do I deal with a 1-year-old kid who's running all over the place? I have no control over them. Of course, the parents are paying you, so they're expecting top quality output also, right? But now 30 shoots down, I've realized that I've found my bearing. I've found the tips and tricks to know exactly how to go about doing a scenario, how to find that moment, how to make the child sit down and smile, how to get them to obey what you're actually asking them to do, right? So it's about doing. So the education actually helps you learn, but then it's more about the doing after that comes into play. Yeah.
Amazing. So, Akshay, how do you deal with success and failure?
Yeah. So I think success and failures are very subjective and also relative, because everyone's perception of success and failure are very, very different, right? I deal with success with humility. I think we've got to be humble, right? Whatever we have achieved or whatever we might achieve in life, just be humble. Don't let that get as an ego into your mind saying, I've achieved the world, I'm a successful businessman. I think if you can always have humility for whatever you achieved and be grateful for what you have, I think that's the best way to sort of deal with success. I think failure is a part of anyone's life. I think we all go through ups and downs. Whether you call it a failure or whether you call it a learning is again how you see it. But I've always seen failures per se more like a learning experience for myself, wherein I've learned from a scenario, saying how do I not repeat this particular problem again, and then just move on. Again, I think there's nothing more important than peace of mind, right? There's nothing more important than peace of mind. So if you can ensure that you are always, have complete control over your mind, and don't let failure or anything negative get to you, that's the best way to actually deal with it. So don't get so down where you're like, okay, now I can't pull myself up. Be calm, see what can be done in that situation, find a plan of action, and then move on from there is how I deal with failure. Yeah.
But, when you're in a creative block, how do you deal with a creative block? I mean, do you have those times when you feel you're stuck in a creative block?
Yeah, I think it happens very often. I think the best way to deal with creative block is don't think of the task. Just move on and do something completely different. And I've seen that work very, very often, right? Like when you're in that, the moment you're consciously thinking of that problem, you will keep getting more and more stuck, more and more blocked. I deal with it by saying, what, I'm just going out for a walk. I'm just going to go for a walk around the office, for example, come back or read something else randomly, watch a video, listen to some music, for example. Just come back and start again. So don't consciously spend so much time on the creative block that starts getting to you. Just put your mind onto something completely different. I think the mind works in a very beautiful manner. The moment you can start thinking of something else might come in and actually give you inspiration for the idea. So
you mean divert your mind into something new? When
something
you're stuck.
completely different, yeah. And don't get so bogged down by the creative block that you start getting affected by it. So I keep telling people, like, no, take care, leave this task right now, come back after a couple of hours, then we'll sit on it again. And we always come back with a renewed energy, some new idea, some new thought, and then it builds up into something else as well. I think also, if you are in a creative block, talk to more people, get more perspectives, ask them a question, try getting their perspectives. Maybe that might actually help you build on from there also. Yeah.
Amazing. I think that's brilliant that you've shared. So, coming back to inspiration, I mean, what kind of books give you inspiration?
So I'm right now in a phase where I'm reading like a lot of self-help books. Like I want to discover myself more. So I've been reading these books by Simon Sinek. Start with by Infinite Game. I think it's more about discovery of myself and discovery of my own purpose. I'm not reading any marketing books because I think I learn enough of marketing on the job itself. So I'm not reading marketing books per se. But I've read the biographies of Elon Musk, of Richard Branson. So I'm inspired by people who've grown and scaled up companies, who've done things differently. I'm right now reading Psychology of Money. Like I want to also now, I'm in a space of life saying, okay, fine, how do I manage my money better? Like, of course, I've earned some amount of money, so now how do I put my money in the right kind of places? So I think I'm more interested now in learning the financial aspects of money management. So it reminds me.
Your back finance,
yeah, exactly.
education does come to help.
Exactly, 100%. Like I can, of what I learned 11, 12 years back, I can still use Excel sheets without a mouse. So I can use full Excel with just keyboard because I've learned it back 12 years back. And today when I'm running my own company, I have complicated Excel sheets. I can actually, understand these numbers because I've learned it back in the day. And of course, it helps me with my own personal investments. I invest in startups. So even that helps me a lot in that space as well. So I'm learning finance now again, yes.
So, for somebody, I very recently heard that people say that I think every other founder or every other successful businessman is reading something and you need that one idea to find success. So do you agree to that annotation where people say you want to read about thousands of ideas and you need that one idea? What do you think?
I think you need a one idea which aligns with your purpose, right? Eventually, it is what, as you asked, right? What makes you wake up every morning? If that idea does not give you that butterfly in the stomach every morning, it can be a great idea, but it won't be motivating enough for you to actually take it forward. So I think absolutely, you read 1,000 things, but find those 1-2 nuggets which you think are the most close to your own personal purpose, because that's the motivation that you have every morning to wake up and do. Yeah.
But for somebody who's not into reading, what does he want to?
That's a tough one. Then if you can't read, then at least talk to people who inspire you, right? Like for example, nowadays again, like podcasts, for example, have become a big way to actually get inspiration from people. I use LinkedIn a lot as well as a professional platform to reach out to other founders, co-founders, to get inspired by their stories. So up until 5 years back, I used to hate reading. I would never pick up a book ever. I would read a lot of stuff online. I could read articles, but never a book. But I think in the past 5 years, I've enjoyed reading. But up until then, I used to talk to people, network, find a mentor, for example, go onto professional platforms like a LinkedIn, go to networking events, find people there. And then through conversations, you pick up on ideas, something might come. I used to watch a lot of TED Talks. TED Talks also helped me get inspired with ideas. I gave my first TED Talk during the pandemic as well. In fact, I was in the creative block that time saying, what should I write? What should I say in this TED Talk? And the idea came to me when I was sitting in a safari in Kanha jungle. I was waiting to see a tiger, and my idea for my TED Talk came over there. So the topic for the TED Talk was discovery. So I was like, it's a very broad topic. Discovery is such a broad topic. Now, TEDx, I have to say something which will inspire people, like I have to also be like an inspiration to people, right? So I remember I was sitting in the jungle and I realized that the journey towards finding your self-discovery is like finding a tiger in the jungle. So my entire TED Talk was built around that, about the process of finding a tiger in the jungle to the process of actually finding self-discovery, and how that journey continues forever and ever, because once you find a tiger, you want to come back and keep finding a tiger again and again and again, right? So it's like self-purpose as well. You keep finding it, it keeps evolving.
Such a beautiful way you connected the two.
Yeah, and literally it came, and trust me, I spent a month thinking, say, kya likhu, yeah, what do I write for this TED talk? I have no idea. I wasn't even thinking about my speech. I was literally sitting, and I can hear the langur is calling there, the peacock is calling here, and the idea of the TED talk actually came during that moment. So the creative block was broken because I was not thinking about it. It just came on its own, Yeah.
Probably with little that I'm hearing you and what I'm understanding that if you're submerged into something which takes there all those 5 days, you really need those breaks which help you excel.
I think small breaks are important. I keep saying that. Don't take 1 month off. Don't take a sabbatical. Like nowadays, people saying, I'm taking 2 months sabbatical. Like I've had that in the past 2 years. A lot of youngsters who are maybe 3 years into the job saying, I'm taking 2 months off because I'm burnt out. I need a sabbatical. I keep telling them, you know what, don't take 2 months off because you're going to disconnect from work for 2 months. You might lose out on so much in these 2 months, right? Rather take smaller breaks. Take 1 week off. Take the weekend. Take a long weekend off, for example. But do something which you like doing. You enjoy painting, do painting for 3 days. You like reading, read for 3 days. You like taking a massage, take 5 massages and come back. But do something which is giving you the motivation of giving you that ease of mind. For me, it's photography. So for me, I disconnect in the jungle. Every 4 months, I'm in the jungle. I spend 4 days in the jungle, disconnected from work. Of course, I do pick up on emails on that because you can't totally cut off, but I go to the jungle, no phone for like those 4 days. But that's my way of just getting energy back from the nature and then coming back refreshed again. Or then I travel with my wife, we go to like wherever we're traveling to. So that's how it is, yeah.
So I think that's how you don't burn out. You don't burn out because you've got these breaks planned. So I think that's when planning a regime is very, very important. And I think you found the format.
Yeah.
So for all the young people out there that, okay, if you don't want to be, getting stuck in a creative block, you don't want to burn out, then I think you should pick up these tips from Akshay that he's very clear that have a weekend gig separate.
Yeah. Something which is fueling the creativity also at the side, yeah.
How do you get clients to pay you for photography?
As an individual or as...
I know, and as an individual.
As an individual? Great question. I mean, I still question saying, why do they pay me that much money, right? I keep questioning myself. Maybe it's just a syndrome I sort of suffer from. But I think they've seen the output, right? They've seen now I've built a portfolio of work. I think they're able to see the work output. And again, I don't do it for the money. To be very true, my photography is not with the intention of for the money. Because I think I make money from my other job, from Schbang. Photography is more about the passion. So even if I make less money, sometimes clients say, you know what, can I pay you less? I don't get into haggling on those things, right? So for me, it's about just having the pleasure of shooting, picking up my camera, taking some good pictures. And I feel happiness when I see the parents are happy with the pictures. And when you shoot 2,000 pictures, but when they have those 5 good pictures, which is say, I've put that on my wall, that's my happiness for me.
That's a victory when you
That's a victory. So, or when the profile picture on WhatsApp becomes a picture you've shot for them, right? That's victory, right? That they love that picture so much that they've gone and made the profile picture. So I think for me, that is victory. So, of course, clients pay you because, like in your case, they've seen the output. They know they will get good quality. They trust you. They trust your name, right? I think that trust has come with time. But again, I don't do photography for the money. It's more about just the passion of giving and getting these moments and meeting new people. Yeah.
So a few tips before we close for wildlife photographers. What are some tips for a wildlife guy? And then let's come to somebody who wants to get into maternity. These two spaces, because you're that one guy who's in so many different spaces. So let's go niche by niche.
I keep telling people, right? I didn't have my own telephoto lens until 3 months ago. So you don't need to buy fancy lenses. You don't need to spend 5 lakh buying a prime 500mm lens, right, for photography. You can rent a lens if you need to. And I've always done that. Of course, I have my own body, but I keep renting my lenses because I'm like, why should I spend that much money when I'm going to the jungle, say 3 times a year. Why do I spend that much money on the lenses? So one tip to photographers is that, don't care about having fancy gear. Have a good body which you're comfortable with. If you can't afford to buy one, rent it out. It's cheaper that way. 2 is, because of course wildlife photography is expensive. You got to, spend 3-4 days. You got to go to a different state, different city, fly down. The safaris can be expensive as well if you're depending on where you're going. So I would say at least try doing 2 or 3 expeditions every year. Because once you fall in love with wildlife photography, you start enjoying the stories of the jungle. And there are almost 50 different parks in India which have tigers, right? So you'll start identifying which are your favorite parks. Like, for example, I love going to Tadoba. I love going to Pench because they're closer to Bombay as well, right? but try going back at least once every few months to know how the story of the jungle is evolving. For example, today there's a new queen. Tomorrow she might have babies. The baby might become bigger. Now those babies become a part of a different territory. They are mating with somebody else. So there are different kind of stories being played out every single month, every few months, right? So if you can be in touch with that story, it's like a jungle book playing out for you in front of your eyes in nature itself, right? So I enjoy going back every few months to know what's happening next. Who has moved out, who has come in, who's mating with who, whose babies have come in. So that is a story for me as well. It's like a creative story being played out by God, right, for me in a way. So I think do at least 2 or 3 trips in the year for wildlife. Very importantly, I think learn the technicals of your camera, because when you're on the field, especially in wildlife, as I mentioned, like nothing is in your control, right? You need to know exactly.
You want to retake.
If you miss that moment where the tiger's walking past you, it's gone. You cannot get that. You will feel disoriented, saying, I missed that one head-on shot because I did not know what settings to put, and my ISO was off and my shutter speed was too slow, so everything has come shaky and blurry. You've got to learn your technicals very importantly, right? And I think don't just go straight to the jungle and start using it. When you're in Bombay or wherever you are at your home, practice with birds, because birds have similar movements.
Right.
Maybe like we have many stray dogs and cats in our buildings, right? I think we're fortunate to have them. So use your camera to actually practice on other animals, because that will get your fingers moving in the right direction as well, exactly to shoot also. So I think practice, do a few trips every year to keep abreast with what's happening. And third is that don't bother about buying heavy equipment because it's expensive. Rent out, and I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah.
Amazing. Which are your favorite places that you love visiting?
So Tadoba, I love going back to. Tadoba, Pench and Kanha, I love. I've done Ranthambore once. Again, the landscape of Ranthambore is fabulous. I'm going back again in October. Looking forward to seeing that, because I'd seen the queen with her 2 cubs. Now one of those 2 cubs have become big and have taken over the territory. So now I'm going back to see those cubs now. So for me, it's like a full journey. I've seen these 2 years back. Now I'm going back 2 years later on to see how it is. So 1st October, I'll be in Ranthambore. So looking forward to doing that. But I've not been to Kabini. I want to go to the south now. I've done Jim Corbett in the north. So I've done about 6-7 different parks, but I personally love Pench and Tadoba quite a bit.
So coming to the last part, for people who want to get into maternity, children, any tips for them?
Yeah, so I don't do maternity, I do only baby photography, and I typically specialize in kids who are above 6 months, because I don't like to orchestrate the kids and put them in a particular basket or in a particular...
Right, I mean, that's a different, the 40-day, 1 month, 2 month is a very different space.
Yeah, which I don't enjoy. And that again requires artificial lights and studio setup, which I don't like doing. So I specialize more in the 6 month to like a 3 year kind of a time frame. So again, for there, I think tips are very similar to wildlife. You need to understand your camera settings very importantly, because again, there you have no retakes. If that moment is gone, if that smile is gone, you cannot recreate that. And then the parents are like, "Arey yaar, kya ho gaya?" Like, no, we missed these shots, right? So I think you got to be very, very in the moment. And again, I think same with the equipment. Just buy a good lens which can give you like a say 18 to 110 mm ke beech mein, you get enough of a range to sort of work with. That's enough to give you maybe like a little zoomed in and a bit more wide angle, enough to do baby photography. And I think very importantly for baby specifically, you need to build a portfolio online. Parents are very keen on seeing what work have you done. So again, you've got to also keep in mind that not all parents are okay with you sharing their baby's pictures online. So always take consent from the parents saying, am I allowed to share this content in my portfolio, on my website, on my Instagram handle? Only then share, but it's important to build a portfolio, because as compared to wildlife, no one is paying you, no one is sort of commissioning you to get a wildlife shoot done. But for babies, you've got to showcase your work. So I very recently after 5 years, I actually built my website right now for baby photography, because it was picking up steam. A lot of people were actually coming, so they're saying, website link bhejo. And I should send them my LinkedIn, sorry, my Instagram handle. And they're like, acha, website nahi hai.
The man who builds websites.
Exactly. The irony, right? Like the big irony. So then I was like, okay, no, I think I need to make a website now. So I finally made a website a couple of months ago. So
what do people in your team say? I mean, what do people, I'm sure people laugh at this irony.
Yeah, they laugh saying, how can you not have a website? I'm like, I'm so lazy to go and make my own website, But no, like, I waited for the right time to have enough information, enough images to also make the website. But now that I do, so I have my website, I have my Behance link, I have my Instagram handle. Of course, I have a nice PDF as well, which I circulate on WhatsApp. But I think building a portfolio on different touch points also helps, because it helps you be discovered also. Go and create like a Google My Business listing on Google. So people can find you there also online. Few tips like these actually help to be discovered very importantly. I think word of mouth works best in the baby space, because once a mother is comfortable with you, she will recommend you to 5 other mothers in the group. And this entire mommies circle is very strong, because they're part of different WhatsApp groups, for example. They all have...
They all are taking tips from each other.
Exactly, right? So the moment you can keep one set of parents happy, they will go and recommend you to a lot more other parents. And that's how I've built my business. Literally, I started off with 2 groups of friends. Now I've shot the entire group, in some form or the other at some point in time, and done multiple shoots for those groups as well. So it's more about, I think you can find the right kind of people, keep the clients happy. Again, don't chase the money. If you can focus more on getting good output, keep the parents happy, they will recommend you organically to more photographers also. To more parents as well, yeah.
Lovely, I think. Thank you, Akshay. This has been like an eventful chat where we've discussed so much of digital marketing, wildlife, to children. This has been a very varied conversation, and I'm sure our listeners are going to have a treat listening to all this.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the good questions. I think interesting conversation. I think time has flown. Literally, like we've spent more than like an hour talking, and I think time has flown. So that's a good sign. But thanks for having me on the podcast, and looking forward to it as well. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you, Akshay. So दोस्तों, कैसा लगा आपको आज का एपिसोड? मुझे तो मजा आया. I think for all those people who say that you can't really run behind your passion, and यार एक profession होता है और passion अलग अलग होता है, how can you do it all? I think Akshay is a true testimony into making you realize you can do multiple things, and he does it so well, right? Please comment and tell me in today's episode that what was your favorite part, what moved you. So दोस्तों, we're going to be closing for today. I'm going to see you next week with another episode. So guys, stay tuned with Level Up with Love. This is Luv Israni signing off. I will see you next week with a fresh episode of Level Up with Love. This is Luv Israni signing off from today's episode. Until next time, I will see you in the next episode. Stay tuned with Level Up with Love. I will make sure that you level up with